Hi there, and welcome to this day in history for November 18th. November 18th is the 322nd day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, 323rd in leap years, with 43 days remaining to the end of the year. Today's word is dowry. Dowry is a noun that means money or property brought by a bride to her husband at marriage, or a sum of money required of a postulant at a convent, or a natural endowment or gift, a talent. Dowry. And with that, we're going to start in the year 326, when the old St. Peter's Basilica was consecrated by Pope Sylvester on November 18th, not 28th. November 18th in the year 326. On November 18th in the year 401, the Visigoths, led by King Alaric I, crossed the Alps to invade northern Italy. The Visigoths, by the way, were an early Germanic people, not to be confused with actual Germans. That's a long story. I think I've covered it in part in another video. Maybe we could take a deeper look at it in future. Visigoths were an early Germanic people. They went into Italy to invade. On November 18th in the year 1421, a seawall at the Zuiderzee dike in the Netherlands broke. There was a big storm out in the ocean, just broke that dike. 72 villages were flooded as a result of this, and about 10,000 people died. It has come to be known as the St. Elizabeth flood because it happened around the time of the feast day of St. Elizabeth, which is right about now. St. Elizabeth herself is an interesting historical character. She was a Hungarian princess. She got married at the age of 14 and was widowed 6 years later. It says that she sent her children away and regained her dowry, which was no small matter, as her brother-in-law apparently was in charge of her husband's estate, and this brother-in-law was a real stinker. Anyway, she got the dowry back and used the money to build a hospital, where she herself personally tended to the sick people that came there. All this she did before she was 24 years old, because that's when she died, at the age of 24. I was not able to find out what took her. But St. Elizabeth, because of her own travails, is the patron saint of hospitals, nurses, bakers, brides, homeless people, lace makers, widows, and a few other things that I didn't write down. Yeah, this terrible flood in the Netherlands happened around the time of her feast day, as I've already mentioned, and so it is named after her. St. Elizabeth, the St. Elizabeth flood. November 18 marks the date that Christopher Columbus first sighted the island that we call Puerto Rico. This happened in 1493. Susan B. Anthony and 14 other women were arrested on November 18th, 1872 for voting illegally in the United States presidential election of 1872. Latvia declared independence from Russia on November 18th, 1918. Today's song is Tom Dooley by the Kingston Trio, number 1, November 18th, 1958. Tom Dooley is a traditional folk song from North Carolina based on a murder that took place in 1866. Considered an Appalachian sweetheart murder ballad, several versions of it were done, one in about 1929, another one about 10 years later. The Kingston Trio, an American folk and pop music group, had heard one of these recordings and recorded it. It sold over 6 million copies, hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 this week in 1958. Tom Dooley by the Kingston Trio. Link in the description. And I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with a link in your email, messaging, or social media. If you enjoy this series, you can check out the playlist that contains these videos. I'll put a link to that in the description. That description lives on YouTube, so for other platforms, I'll include the link to my blog page that is called No Really. You can also find me on Rumble, Parler, BitChute, and Getter. All those links in that description. Alrighty, that's all I can think of right now. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.